Welcome to another episode of Queen3 and King. Today's topic is identity crisis. Some of you in the middle of one right now. Hey, I don't know who you are. Matter of fact, I wish John was here because he always talk about his wife being in the next room and he don't know who he's gonna see back there. So yes, identity crisis. Everybody who has been given this topic, including us, immediately had some thoughts about where that went and what all that could mean, especially in today's day and age with social media and whatnot. So this ought to be an interesting one and can't wait to dive in. But before we do that, let us introduce our co-hosts. And starting first out of Anna, Texas, by way of East Garland, we have Skinny Minnie, Boney Maroney, Darling Nikki, Coco, the Glamour herself. What up, Queen?
Hey, y'all. I hope y'all had a great day today.
Look like she's rocking a relatively newly straightened headband wig today. I think she probably had.
I just shook it out. I didn't straighten it.
She probably sent it to Thelma to have her run a straightening comb through it. Yeah, that's what they used to say. Can you run a straightening comb through my hair? All right, and next, who may have an announcement soon regarding the litigation with the city of Tulsa regarding the crown. We have Meba, the educator. Talk to the people, Queen.
What's up, everybody? Good evening.
Hey, girl.
Yeah.
She has not had a straightening comb run through her hair. Looks like she got this one straight out of Jamaica somewhere.
Hey, come on.
I
couldn't even say nothing because I was going to laugh.
Rasta Farian.
Rastaman.
All right. And last but not least, we have the baby queen, Lee, Mama Lee, Blake Mama. What up, Queen?
Hey, y'all. What's going on?
And she has the, let's see how we would describe this gel.
This is what you call a sleek ponytail?
Okay.
You with my natural hair?
It looked like that. It looked like that Gorilla Glue girl.
Baby, hers did not move. This move.
All right, we got some folks in the chat room already. We got cousin Diane. What's going on, Diane?
Hey, Diane.
I see she went with the glamour shots on her photo there. We got Raider Care. We can call him Raider Care this week because
we
got beat by the football team.
Because y'all won.
Yeah. Charlotte Wilson in the house, the best voice in the Built for This network.
Yes.
All right, we got
Is you struggling?
A little freeze action going on. All right, we got Aunt Weeda in the house.
Hey, Aunt Weeda.
Oh, there it is.
Hey, my beautiful family.
Hey.
All right, we got Ben Suttereth III says good evening.
Hey, Ben.
And with his icon, with his picture, he looked like he having back issues that day or something. I can't say. He said not Gorilla Glue. All right, we got a Kia in the house. What's going on, Kia?
Hey, Kia.
All right, so let's dive right in. We're gonna start with Lee here. What does identity mean? Before we can get into an identity crisis, let's talk about what identity is.
Simply put, identity is your individuality. It's who you are. I think that's the simplest way I can put it. It's nothing much more to add to that.
Right on. All right. Mika, what is his identity?
Nothing more to add. It's who I am.
Okay. Nico?
It's who I am.
That's right. They hit the nail on the head already.
Wow. Right. Who or what a person is, it is the distinguishing character or personality of an individual. Right. And our identity is multifaceted, right? There's a lot of tentacles to it.
Tentacles. I like that word.
Yeah, don't ask me to spell.
Practice that.
Don't ask me to spell. And because that is what it is, and people get way too attached to one facet of their identity or another, which is generally what leads us to the crisis in identity.
Yeah.
And before we dig into that a little bit more, we got some more comments. All right, we got Charlotte says you're the sweetest. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Grace Rabia Wood. Hey,
Grace.
Hey,
Happy
Grace,
birthday
we got A
to
Trap in the house. Good hello, everyone. Queens and Kings. I guess that's a new
Hey,
thing.
A-Trap.
Good hello. He got caught between good evening and hello, so he just put them
I
together.
say put them all together.
Golden
Yeah.
Brooks in the house.
Golden.
Living my life like it's golden.
Living my life like it's golden.
All right, Handsome Dirk.
Got
Thank you,
you,
man.
golden.
I'm gonna leave that comment
He
up
look
for a little
okay.
while.
Oh my
Yeah, I was
God.
gonna say.
He look okay.
I beg to differ.
All right, we got Aunt Marita in the house.
Hey, Annie.
Hey, Annie.
Hey, Marita.
And we got Big Illinois in the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Still on house arrest.
Okay.
Grace says hello. Thank you, and A-Trap. You owe.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna start with Nikki on this one. Do most people know their identity?
I think probably about 60 or 50% of the people may know their identity, but others I think still don't know their identity.
Okay. All right.
So
Fair enough. Do you have any reasoning to why you think that is?
because I think that there is no matter the age or your gender, I think there's a lot of people that just still don't know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're 19, 20, 25, in their 30s or 40s, 50s, some people just don't know still at 50 who they are.
Right.
So
Right. Okay. Mika, do most people know their identity?
I don't think most people. I think most people do, but it's a good majority that do not.
Mhm.
Only because I think our identity changes as our roles change.
Right.
So sometimes our identity will shift, and we're stuck in another role or another time in our lives. So yeah, identity can be hard to keep up with, and insecurity and all that stuff. If you're not secure in who you are and all that good stuff, that plays a role in it. So that's my quick answer.
Lily, do most people know their identity?
No, I think most people struggle with their identity. Really, one, because social media plays such a huge role in who we are in front of an audience. So I think it changes based on who your target audience is, right? So if you want to be someone in front of these people, you're one way. With this person, you can be another way with that person. So I think a lot of people struggle with finding who they are and being comfortable with who they are. Especially, growing up, I always think back when I was growing up, I had a girl tell me in high school that I wasn't the same when I first met her. Well, I met her in elementary school. So I was like, well, aren't you supposed to change and evolve?
No, you were supposed to stay. Wait, you supposed to been staying 10.
So I was like, that doesn't work for me. So a lot of people they struggle with finding themselves and feeling like a person should be one way their entire life, which that's not even possible. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. So for me, obviously, it's difficult for us to actually put a percentage on how many people know their identity and how many don't, right? That's almost an impossible task. However, it certainly appears through social media channels that you get a lot of people who seem to be struggling with their identity.
Yeah.
But here's the deal, though. I think people who are having an identity crisis are overrepresented, because aren't those the kind of people who are usually putting a lot of extra stuff out there, right? And therefore you get to see them a lot. And because they're struggling with their identity, they kind of are all over the place sometimes, and they got an opinion about everything. So again, I think they're overrepresented and they're out there. And then, as Lily touched on, a lot of people can't deal with your growth, right? I'll give you an example. Stevie Wonder, when he get new growth, we can't deal with it.
Good and night.
See, everybody know what I'm talking about.
Good
Right
and
now.
night. Okay.
So your new growth sometimes come off like Stevie Wonder braids. New growth to other folks. They
No,
can't
I'm
handle it.
not.
When they want to comment on it, they want to say
Ribbon in the
something about it.
sky.
I'm not about to play with you.
So yeah, a lot of people can't handle your growth, and it's an affront to them, right? It is offensive to them when you grow, and they think you change it, right?
Very true.
When in essence, we all change, right?
Right.
Yes.
And
Well, we should.
That's
Yes.
right. You should. And
We
guess
should.
what? We are definitely different people in front of different people, right?
Right.
And sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes that's not a switch up.
That's
Sometimes that's necessary, number one, and sometimes that is unforced. What I mean by that is because if your energy is different than this other person's energy, my energy gonna be different, right? So some people's energy is so positive that it makes you ain't that chipper, you ain't that whatever.
Yeah.
But when you're around them, you all like you ain't nothing wrong, and you all happy, and you all fake. That ain't fake sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes your energy is so zapping, and they don't have the balls to tell you your time in life
Not
is
the
over
balls.
with.
All
Yeah,
right.
they ain't got the nuts. Like if you're watching this, to be able to tell you that your time in their life is over with, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, they are real chipper around them, and that is a thing, right? That we are different people around other people because of how their energy interacts with our energy. And if your vibration is weak, then sometimes people are gonna come across with that weak vibration. Or if your vibration is intimidating, their vibration may get meek. Okay, and I don't mean meek. All right, let's get some comments here. First of all, everybody should know that Big Illinois has been given holiday release. So
What?
Thank
you, Jesus.
That must be new.
Golden Brook said that he doesn't think so. Most people do not know their identity.
Okay.
A-Trap says he agrees because the general public has been trained to be sheep.
Oh, the
Follow the
training.
pack, right? Sheeple. Yeah. In society,
That's good.
I promise you, there has been a movement underfoot forever to where people are waiting to be told what to think. They do not have the ability to have an independent thought. They need to wait and see what the crowd is thinking, and then they go that direction.
Yep.
Golden Brook says yes.
Yeah.
Brian says exactly. Intelligent person showing should be growing every year, I guess is what it's probably. Grace says so true. Let's see here. Golden Brook says some people are scared to be their true self. 100%. They dumb themselves to suit other people. That is 100% correct.
Golden. I like that comment. I'm sorry, Tay. I was gonna hop on that only because me and my line sisters were together this weekend. You know, just chilling out, eating brunch at one of our houses, and we talked about who we thought we were in these last 17 years and all that good stuff. Talking about dumbing ourselves down and shrinking ourselves so that we make everybody else in the room feel comfortable and that they fit. And it makes us uncomfortable because we've shrunk to make everybody else comfortable.
Don't dim your light
ourselves, right? And we're dimming our own lights, and we're dimming our own, and we're stunting our own growth. So I love that comment.
It's good comment.
Right. Yeah. And if you do that, sometimes that can be a sign that you're not comfortable in your identity if you have to change it for other folks. If you feel the need to change it for other folks.
Yeah.
Weeda says this is another form of losing your identity when so many women give up their identity to please a man. That's a fantastic point. But the man keeps his identity. She makes it all about him, his life, his family, and neglects her family.
Very true.
That's a good point. Ray the Kev has an issue with the Stevie Wonder comment. Grace says the reason why people are intimidated by growth is because they think they will be left behind.
Right.
And sometimes they should be.
Yeah, because sometimes they're for a season.
Yeah.
That part.
Golden Brook says dumb themselves down typo. We got you. Yeah, we got you too, Brian. Priscilla said, Miss Wilma, where are you, Ted Cuss?
Whooping mama.
What did you say? Nuts?
Yeah.
No, he said balls first, then he said nuts.
Miss Priscilla, call mama.
Yes, right now.
Ben says people scared to tell Stevie it's over.
Oh man.
Damn, Maurice is in the house. So is she?
Hey, Auntie Thelma.
She may be listening with her. She may be listening with her.
Okay.
Hey, Thelma.
Brian
okay.
says groupthink is the order of the day, right?
Mm.
Taylor
Woo.
says a lot of people, and this is the young lady who did my Christmas decorations, and also
Okay, Taylor, you did well.
that is also the designer of the mirrors, you know, the Afro
okay.
mirrors that y'all got and the coasters and stuff like that, and some fantastic artwork that I have in a guest bedroom that I just hadn't put up yet that is hand custom made. So if you want custom made canvases for your house to match your decor specifically, if you're going to what is it, the room stores are called, at home goods, all those places, and you can't find canvases that fit your decor and you got a particular color scheme in need, I promise you she'll nail it.
Come on, Taylor, I got $27.47.
Well, yeah, you might get two coasters.
You better be praying.
Let's see. She says a lot of people have a loss of self because of who we are told to be or who we should be based on societal roles, personal projections, family trauma, etc. That is
good.
Deep and strong.
That's good.
Charlotte says God moves people who don't have your positive energy. They can't be near the light. Your circle should be on your level or higher to help keep you lifted.
Yes, you can't be near my light.
And if you're and as far as I'm concerned, to add on to that, if you do have people on there who don't match your energy or are not at your level or whatever, you should be. It should be intentional because you should be trying to bring them there, right? From a mentorship standpoint or just being a solid friend standpoint, but don't ever do it because you feel like you have to, for whatever reason. But like I said, it should be strategic if that's the case. There are some schools of thought out there that says that you need to always be the dumbest in the room. So you're always reaching to try to become better. Golden says, yes. HRAP says exactly. Then that woman ends up burning his car or is that waiting to exhale. Let's see. Charlotte says, sadly, I see my middle school female students act less than they are to be liked or popular. And it angers me so much, especially when their old fashioned mothers encourage that. Wow. Yeah. Taylor says, thank you. And she goes, listen, I can work on that. She probably paid $27. And Kia says, so true. Yes. All right. So let's start with Mika on this one. Is our identity connected to others? Is our identity connected to other people?
No and yes. If you allow it to be connected to others, yes. But if you are secure in who you are and what you know you have and what you know you bring to the group or to your job or to your relationship or whatever the case may be, it should not be connected to others. But 90% of the time, our identity is connected to the people we surround ourselves with, which causes us to act, think, breathe, move in a certain type of way is our circle.
Because we kind of surround ourselves with like-minded people, right?
We kind of surround ourselves with those folks. But like Ted say, you also always should be, and I've been taught that you should be the dumbest person in the room. Because once you outgrow that room, you need to move. Not get rid of the friends, but move to a different room where you can learn. But yes, I think we surround ourselves with people who kind of identify with us to make us feel more comfortable.
So you said no, but your answer said something a little different. So
she said yes and no.
Oh, okay. So that's your answer supported that yes and no seesaw that you gave.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if Nikki can give a more.
I'm an educator. I'm a seesaw you, and I'm gonna give you both.
Let's see if Nikki can give a more.
No, I agree I agree that it's a yes and a no answer because sometimes, like y'all mentioned about be the dumbest person in the room. I had a supervisor tell me that many years ago to act like that because of the benefit that you'll get from that. But on the other hand, I think that our identity is connected to the people that we hang around with, whether it's family, whether it's our business associates, whether it's whoever, our friends. I think sometimes we are connected. Our identity is connected to them.
Mm-hmm. So now let me clarify, just in case some other folks are getting it misunderstood as well. When we say be the dumbest person in the room, we don't mean dumb yourself down to be
right.
We
Right.
mean surrounding yourself with people who are, at a level that you're trying to get to.
Exactly.
Lily, is our identity connected to others?
I have to agree with what they said. Yes and no. I think it can be. It can be positive. It can be negative, right? Because sometimes if you're in a room full of people and they're not who you usually surround yourself with, you may lose yourself and you lose your identity in that moment because you're not really comfortable with yourself, right? So we talk about being comfortable with ourselves. I even go back to Anwita's comment when she said that sometimes people or women and men, it goes vice versa, find themselves struggling with identity because they are basing their identity on that person, right? So you have to be strong in who you are to know who you are, but it can be connected to other people.
Right. So for me, my answer was absolutely our identity is connected to others. And this is actually where I wrote the note, that states that we are different people around different people, hence choose who you are around carefully.
Right.
Birds of a feather flock together, right?
Yeah. How many times have we heard that?
Right. And because of the way our identity is formed, which we'll kind of address that at this point, because of the way our identity is formed, it is connected to others for that reason and that reason alone. And for instance, the family that you come from, right? The relatives that you have, the places that you work, the profession that you're in, right? There's such a thing called a group identity, right? So Mika has a group identity of educators, right? Nikki has a group identity of, she one of them nonprofit organization runners, right? So she always looking for a donation. Just kidding.
Always.
And Lily and I share a group identity of we're in the insurance industry, right? So your identity is connected to others. And like somebody mentioned, I think Lily mentioned it, that it's sometimes good and bad, right?
Right.
So let's talk about some of the ways that our identity is formed. And we'll start with Lily after we read a couple of these comments. First, Golden says, right, Mika, I know people that try to talk, walk, look, etc. like other people.
Yeah, we see it all day on social media.
And Bobby said, that's easy for Mika. Dumb.
He is a nut.
That's all right. I'm gonna text his wife.
Rita Kev said you should always be the dumbest person in the room. If you're not learning, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you're not living.
Yeah, wow. That's good.
Yeah.
Golden says surround yourself around individuals who can learn from and pick up things from. Who you can, yeah. Kia says it depends on what type of person you are, because some people are only this or that if others are telling them they are. She says, I don't believe that birds of a feather thing, though, because I feel like I am so different than all of my family and friends. Well, I assure you, you probably are the outlier with that. Again, as a reminder, please click the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for us, please.
Ding, ding, ding.
As we discussed the identity crisis. So, Nikki, start with that. Tell me some of the ways that you think our identity is established. How do we develop our identity?
I think one of the major ways that we start establishing it, especially when we're younger in the household with our parents and stuff, is through our family members, through our aunts and uncles and cousins and people of that nature. I think that's one of the main ways, and most of the time, that's how we are identified our entire life, because other people know our family and who they are and that they're, what they do, and as educators, because sometimes like we have, like for instance, Aunt Thelma and Aunt Maddie and all them, they were educators. Mm-hmm. So sometimes people just know us through them. And how many times have we ran across people that know mama everywhere we go? Mm. So it's through mostly the main source is through our family members. And right. Then also it could be, again, like you said, with regards to what we do for a living, or it could be connected to our spouse or our children. We could be connected in a lot of different ways.
Right. Okay, Mika, how do we develop our identity? How is it developed?
I think you never stop developing your identity. I think it's ever changing. You're not going to stay the same person, like Alicia said, when she was in elementary versus high school. It's ever changing. And Nikki hit on a couple, but I'm going to say my identity spiritually changes every year. I mean, it changes all the time as well. So one of your identity things that you identify with is your spirituality. Mm-hmm. How you walk, how you talk. Are you changing? Are you forgiving? Are you caring? Are you loving? What does that look like? So, as Nikki hit on a couple of things, I was thinking about spiritually as well, because of course I was going to start with your family because that's your foundation. That's the first thing you know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You grow, I think, you add on layers to your family, but that spiritual side comes in as well. So I'm thinking as identifying spiritually. Are you set in God? What do you think? What do you believe? How you how's your relationship with God? How's your relationship with people? How does that reflect Christ? Right. So I think that's another way that we identify ourselves.
Lily.
Yeah, I think it's gonna come directly from your family first, right? Mm-hmm. So we always say when kids are growing up, you better watch them because they're watching what you do, right? Right. So kids are always modeling who they have around them to kind of form their identity. But then as they start to kind of get older in a mind of their own, they start to get influenced by people at school, right? So that's one of the talks that I have, I feel like weekly with Cadence, is stay strong in who you are, right? Mm-hmm. So make sure that I am instilling values in her that I want her to carry throughout her life. Because it's so easy at this stage of social media, wanting to fit in, mm-hmm. You have bullying, you have all of these things that kind of formulate how a adolescent thinks, right? So just kind of staying on top of that. And I don't think parents realize it's nothing like when we were kids, right? So some people will be like, well, you need to do it like this. Well, the times have changed. Things have evolved. So you have to parent differently now. Right. So you have to kind of help them form their identity, but know that it's okay to be strong in who they are, mm-hmm. and just continue to instill those values in them. Mm-hmm. Because I know, looking back just through my childhood, mama probably didn't think that we listened to a lot of what she said, but those are some of the things I carry with me still today, mm-hmm. As a person. And it's important, and it's something that I want to also pass down to my children. So it starts with family. Family is strong in that.
Right. And so for me, of course, y'all hit on, quite a bit of how identity is developed, right? And again, memories or our history is also one of them, right? Yeah. And in addition, a lot of times we don't take seriously as parents our names, right? We name our kids for some different reasons sometimes, mm-hmm. When those names should have some meaning to them, mm-hmm. Me and my sons, and even Pastor Dawkins, who's, comments quite a bit, and he's been on the show a couple of times as well. We actually actively talk about Dawkins and what that name means, what it has meant, and mm-hmm. what we want it to mean, mm-hmm. and we've actively said, we're going to do this with our name in mind, right?
Yeah.
Legacy, and through a number of different channels, right? Some of it been through direct conversation, some of it has been through example, but my sons also understand legacy, and they hear me talking about that quite a bit, right? But I think sometimes we are careless with regard to how we name our kids, and we got to understand that name is something that they're going to be called every day of their lives, right? And so if that name is not strong, if that name is not, powerful, if that name isn't meaningful, if that name isn't positive, if that name is associated with something that you don't want it to be associated with, you're putting that in their head every single day, whether they know it or not, right? So it means something, and we don't take that seriously enough sometimes.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to get a couple comments, Lily, and then we'll go to your segment. Let's see. Huida says, y'all are known as Wilma Jean's kid.
Period.
We get that often.
Yes. Yeah.
Kia says identity is developed through experiences.
Very true.
Ray DeKale said, personally, my identity was truly developed when my relationship with God was developed. He gave me confidence to be myself. He gave me confidence to express to others who I was. And that is
right.
That confidence helps with identity, Kevin.
You better believe it.
Yeah.
Grace says identity is developed through life experiences. Identity is formed based on trauma as well. Right?
Yes, Lord.
But fundamentally and at a foundational level, it evolves as you heal. And it's tricky.
That's good.
Reach in, Grace.
Yeah. She says, "Oh, my name is Rabia," also means fierce anger.
Ted, what you got to say? Because you
and I need to know, were you fiercely angry? She goes, so names are important. Golden says, yeah, you need to look it up. Golden says, yes, the children today are very outspoken. We kind of kept our opinions to ourselves, talk under our breath, because if you didn't, you get slapped in your mouth. Today,
that's very true.
Argue and talk back. This generation is different. It is so difficult to hear a kid talking back and not want to,
but would this generation be different would they be talking back if we allowed them to express themselves in a respectful manner? Would they be saying all that stuff under their breath if they were comfortable enough to say, Mama and Daddy, I didn't agree with this because.
Right.
And they're not yelling, they're not fussing, they're not cussing, they're not acting a fool. They're just discussing it. So I think, as an educator, I think we run into that because these kids at home don't get what they need. And then they come to school and they have a total identity crisis because I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. I'm on social media. I'm going to tell my mama she ain't this. She ain't this. And then I'm going to kick it when I get home. So it's just a lot. So I think as parents, that's why your identity really starts.
Because what do parents usually say? You don't question me.
You don't stop it.
Right.
But Mika, can you help me since you're an educator with my 2-year-old granddaughter? When I get on to her while she talks back to me, and then I say, "Who you talking to?" and she'll say, "Collar."
I'll be talking back with her in the corner. It's discipline. It's just discipline. You just have to start early because if you start at 1 or 2,
she already has.
I don't have to do anything at 10 and 12.
Right. So I just took the time. I just took the time to pull up some of the definitions of my name, right? Because we talked about that, and I've done that before. And my Aunt Mama Mad is who named me, right?
Boy, that is not your mother.
I'm telling you. Something fishy going on. Ivan, there's a couple of little definitions of it, right? I'll give the super serious one first. Ivan is usually a name given to a male. The name in translation always resembles a term such as
wiggity
chosen one, valiant, loving, honorable, modest, caring, compassionate, faithful, keeper of secrets, etc. The name has been used for centuries and continues to be assigned to those only worthy of the title.
Valiant, it's strong.
Yeah, and then this is to me, this is where they're really hitting it. Ivan, and this is in the Urban Dictionary, the sexiest man alive.
Okay,
smart,
let's go.
Funny, sweet, super attractive.
All right, that's all we got for tonight, y'all.
They got that part really good. Amazing lover. He can be the biggest. He can be the biggest asshole or the sweetest guy at the same time.
Part.
So see, you can't pick and choose what you want to believe in this thing. They hitting it all over the head.
The biggest asshole. Period.
If you know Ivan, you are very lucky to have them in your life.
Dad, that's a lie.
Look it up.
But guess where you got that from? The Urban Dictionary.
That's just one of them.
The pits of hell.
All right. Let's see. Okay. So Robbie says the name's important. Golden Brook says yes. The children today are very outspoken. We kind of kept our opinions to ourselves under our breath. We talked about that.
Right.
H-Rap says hence H-Rap.
Okay, come on.
Okay, H-Rap.
Robbie says, "Oh Lord, before Jesus, I fought women, men, and children." Brian says, "I'm by the kids." Charlotte says, "Children are also taught normal through social media, so many are confused about their identities and even genders because of what is seen and is acceptable on social media." Right?
Yeah.
Akia says, "But expression is so important. It's taken so long for me to stand up for myself because I always felt my side or point of view doesn't matter."
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter.
It does, girl.
Expression is important as long as it's respectful.
Right.
We can say that. Mildred says is watching as well.
Hey, Auntie Mildred.
Golden says, "You know, my friend used to say your kids are scared of you. No, they just know what and what not to do."
Right.
That's respect to me. They know what and what not to do. That's just
Rita
respect.
says, "I love that part about Ivan can be the biggest ass."
She took the same takeaway as we had.
Everybody.
KF says, "I think in a lot of cases, young people have a certain identity that's bold on social media. Then real life kicks in, and they realize that doesn't work. That's why they're so confused."
Yep,
it's two different lives.
Right on. And now brings us to
the streets are talking.
See, Mika got tired of the other dance.
I can see that fool behind.
Just over there dancing. And look at that hair done messed it up.
That's why somebody's standing in that window behind me. Don't look behind you.
That's just that.
I saw them blinds move. Don't you scary.
Don't do that before I gotta talk.
Jerk.
All
right, Golden Brook says she loves this segment.
Oh, thank you.
Probably me dancing it in.
No, probably
I don't think that's the part.
Probably not. They probably be ready for that music to end so you can sit down somewhere. All right, so the streets are talking. We have to talk about it. So I know that y'all been hearing about your boy, Joel Osteen, right? So,
no, I have not.
So let's talk about it. So plumber discovers
about that money found in the walls.
Yes. Oh yes, Ken did tell me about that.
Yes, plumber discovers money checks in walls of his church after the $600,000 theft claim that he did. I think it was 7 years ago. So a plumber revealed that as he was called to the church, he revealed that he discovered thousands of dollars concealed in a wall at Lakewood Church while performing a job last month. What he said was he went to go in and remove the toilet, and he moved some insulation away, and it was about 500 envelopes in the wall that fell out of the wall, and he was like, "Oh wow." So he started to open up the envelopes to see what is in here. and he found a whole bunch of money, checks, everything. So Houston police confirmed that they recovered some of the checks from the wall, and they were linked to a March 9th, 2014 theft claim that happened at the church. So they're trying to see, is your boy behind all of this? Did he file a false claim? Is he a thief? So the streets are talking. People been saying, ever since Katrina happened, all those types of stuffs happened. How he opened up the church after he was seen telling people to go away from the church and all this kind of stuff, that he just hasn't been right since. So what do y'all think about that? Y'all think somebody is behind that, or do you think it's on him?
Well, didn't y'all also hear that he got a payday, whatever, not payday, the protection,
a PPP loan?
Yeah. So he probably
what loan?
A PPP
loans.
PPP, what the hell is that?
You know, those loans that they were giving for COVID.
That they didn't have to pay back the businesses.
You don't have to pay it back. It's a few people that got it.
Yeah, but I think that they got on to him. Well, several people talked about him about it. So that's why. That's why I believe that he knew about that money that's behind them walls. And
because why would it be behind the wall?
Right.
This is my thing. Okay, first of all, he's having an identity crisis. See, here's the problem. This is my problem, though. This is a serious question. Is that would he? Obviously, let me just say this. I would think that somebody else would have to be in on it, right?
Right.
Because
I think
I can't see him.
Yeah.
I can't see him. Joel Osteen don't know how to lay no damn drywall.
The Deacons did it.
He ain't putting up no sheetrock.
He probably had them help him out, and he gave him a cut of the money that they got from him.
And see, this is my thing. Okay, so I guess they didn't intend to. So as I'm working this out in my head, because I used to be a purveyor of honey buns. I'm working this out in my head. I guess these checks, they were just going to throw them away when the right time came, and then use the cash, because the checks are going to do you absolutely no good.
No, my thing is, it's been 7 years. Yeah. So why is the money even still
in there? So
it didn't make sense to me.
That leads you to believe that maybe somebody else had something to do with it.
Maybe.
And he didn't.
Because those checks.
Because again, I'm going back and getting that money after long they done quit looking.
After 2 or 3 years, I'm gonna be like this.
Because at this point, after 7 years, you closed out, you got your claim, insurance is done with that.
Yeah, you shred.
Why are you still hiding the money?
And that for that reason, I don't know if it was him. Only for that reason, because
the checks, I didn't think about the checks.
What the checks doing there? Because you can't cash them after 90 days.
Here the deal is the original theft. You got to make sure the checks go to. Because if they just steal the cash only, when all of it was put in an offering the same way, right? So I'm willing to bet that they're saying an offering was stolen. And so they're going to put it all. You can't just say all the cash was stolen, but they left the checks behind.
Right.
You got to say that they stole everything, not knowing what all was in there. And so, of course, you wouldn't necessarily expect them to try to cash the checks, because that would lead back to whoever the thief is. So you would theoretically say, okay, now when we go back and get this money, let's shred the checks and let's do what we're going to do with the cash.
But another question that came about from this whole thing was, and to Bobby's point right here, right? So a lot of people were like, if you were the plumber in there working on the toilet, would you have even said anything? Like, would you just take that money and go on about your business, act like you ain't seen nothing, service that little toilet and go on about your day?
Because they wouldn't have known.
They wouldn't have known.
I would have closed that bathroom off and said, hey, I'm going to need people. Nobody can come in here for, probably about an hour and a half, and I need to go to my truck to get some more tools. And I came back with
another toilet.
I went back to the truck and emptied the shit out of that DeWalt bag and had all them screwdrivers and shit on the floor. And I'd have went right back in there with that yellow and black DeWalt bag, and I'd have filled it up with everything it could have. And then I'd have went out and said, all right, y'all good.
Yep. So a lot of people were like, why did the plumber even say something?
That's what I'm like. The plumber is a lot to
reward by saying something.
And I don't know if he thought he was gonna get some type of
That's what I'm saying. He thought he was gonna get a reward or something out of it.
No, they took their money, and now they're investigating to see if it's some truth behind or who was behind this whole theft claim.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully they find out about who it was.
But that's $600,000 that they found. 500 envelopes.
H-Rap says look like Big Illinois is gonna have a sale, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Grace says wolf in sheep's clothing. Not aware. Breeze says Merry Christmas to me.
Okay.
Golden Brook says, but he's got money. I think he's gonna scoop it up when he retires.
that was gonna be his parting gift.
Yeah. Bobby says no more toilets for me.
That plumber messed that up.
All right. Brian would have said, I said 2 words, I'm gone. I said I'd be rich. Akia said I'd be scared to steal out of the house of God. You ain't in the house of God, you're in the restroom. Yeah, that's different. Going to catch on fire at the next light. All right. Let's see what time we got. Okay, so we'll get back. Any other comments on that story before we get back into our topic?
Yes, Golden.
Yeah.
I would have been laying on somebody's beach. All right, let's jump back into this topic. Okay, so we've talked about what identity means. Does people know their identity? Is our identity connected to others? We've naturally discussed whether our identity changes over the course of our lives. We've discussed what extent we determine our identity, some of the factors that influence our identity. Let me ask you this question. Is our identity important? Is this overblown? Is it even necessary for the success of our lives for us to know our identity? Lily, let's start with you.
Yes, I think identity is really important. I think you should know who you are. I think you should have a foundation in who you are. Although it may change as we talk about evolving and things like that, I think it's always important to know who you are so that you feel comfortable being in different groups and knowing that, hey, I know who I am. I'm not changing it up for anybody. And this is who I'm going to be, like it or love it. So I think it's really important.
Okay. Mika, is this overblown? Is this really important?
I don't think it's overblown at all. Like Alicia said, there'll be times where people will test you for who and what you are or what you may bring to a room or to a circle or to a relationship. But I'm thinking, in my opinion, if you're securing your identity, that shouldn't move you, shouldn't shake you. Of course, you're going to have those times where you may doubt yourself, but if you're securing who and what you are, I think that, you should be fine. But identity is very important. I think if people knew who they were and whose they were, marriages would look different.
Right out to it.
A lot of things that would look different.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Nico.
Well, whenever you was asking that question, I already know that it's important to know who we are and our identity. But I was thinking about as over my lifetime, how sometimes you don't know who you are. You feel, and it's not because of you personally, but it's because of maybe, like in my case, when our mom and dad divorced, I felt like I didn't know who I was, or where I fit in, or any of that kind of stuff, because it feels like you're not worthy, or that person didn't feel like you were worthy to be in your life. So that made me feel like I didn't know who I was. Yeah, I knew my name and who child I was, but I just still felt like it was somehow or another. I think all of kids do think about this at divorce times or anything like that, is that when the parents divorce, we think it's about us, and it's not about us. But I thought that it was about me. So, and my, and my brother, and why didn't he want us? And then you think about when they divorced, you felt like he divorced you because the relationship was no longer there with him or the family. So at that point, I was 10 years old and I suffered with trying to figure out why, that took place and why that happened. So that was the one time in my life that I knew I didn't know who I was, or I felt like I didn't know who I was. And I felt like I wasn't wanted.
Right.
But as I got older and I started to understand and realize that it wasn't about me, that I was able to decipher who I was and figure out who I was. And I knew then, and even when I was praying about this situation years ago, I remember God just told me I knew then who I was, because God told me who I am. You're Nicole, I know I'm Nicole, but at the same time, I'm a child of God. And I do know who I am. I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. I'm a sister, a big sister. I'm a daughter. I'm a friend. I'm loyal. So I know all these things that I am now. But just be mindful of those things. When your child come to you and talk to you about stuff like that, I didn't talk to my mom about it because I didn't know how to talk to her about it. But just be mindful of that. Just have the conversation and let the kids express to you how they feel, and inform them that it's not about them, because that can become a traumatic experience, and that will make them not know who they are, who their identity is. Right. But I thank God that I know who I am now.
Right. Yes, I happen to agree. Identity is super important, right? And now that we are more cognizant of mental health issues, there are such disorders like, bipolar disorder or borderline personality disorder, and, psychotherapy, and, getting therapy is a need, right? And unfortunately, there is not a lot that is publicly made about our identity or establishing our identity, which is why I thought that identity crisis was a good title, right? Because I think there is a crisis going on with identity. And as a result, it is the reason why this country is divided the way it is, right? It has to do with our identity, right? So sometimes you have to accept things about the identity that you're connected to, right? And if you do not acknowledge that, you can't move past that, right? And to try not to get too deep, there is a such thing as generational curses, right? And so these generational curses can attach themselves to your identity. So if you don't acknowledge them, you have to acknowledge them to address them, right? And so again, that is why I believe we are in a state of crisis right now. And Derek made a good point, because again, let's think about spiritual warfare, and right, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Right. See, it's not Ramona on Facebook that's your enemy. It's not, that's not who. It's not Brad Townsend on your Instagram that's your enemy. It's not Jeff Russell on your Twitter that's your enemy. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. It is part of the plan, and you've fallen into it. You've fallen for it, right? So Derek said Jesus was tempted based on his identity, and I think that's strong. Think of all the ways the enemy could have came at him, right? But he started his temptation with, if you be the Son of God, then do this, right? Turn this stone into bread. If you who you say you are, then do this. Prove it to me, right? And in essence, one of the things we got to remember is that we don't have to prove nothing to nobody. We don't have to prove anything to anybody.
But I think sometimes we think our identity is attached to proving something.
Right.
So we prove this is who we really are. Derek made a great point, because if the devil comes and tempts you, okay, if you're really a child of God, then you won't do this.
Right.
If you really do, and it makes you lose part of you, or it tempts part of you to not identify to what you really think you are or who you are. So absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's super strong. And if you want to get such nuggets like this, tune in to Overcomers Empowerment Ministries on Sunday morning live on this network, BS3 Network, on Roku TV at, I believe it's 10 o'clock on Sunday mornings. And hopefully soon, right after that, that'll be bookended by Macedonia Ministries.
Hey, bye.
And Pastor Dawkins. And I'm telling you right now, I'll put these men up against anybody in bringing that word. I assure you. And whatnot. So yeah, so that's super important, right? You know, to know that, you know, Jesus himself was tempted based on his identity.
Right.
So
I got that if his identity was tempted, won't yours be?
That's right. And I was going to say, the enemy is not necessarily going to come with no new tricks. See, the word say ain't nothing new under the sun. He's coming with the same tricks. You know, do you really like boys or do you like girls? Think about it. You know, is that you know, did that hairstyle look good on you? Do you do you want to be associated with that? You know, are those people really as, you know? So again, and unfortunately, because the devil uses people who looks like me and you, we don't recognize it as the enemy coming at us with that type of temptation.
Or if we don't recognize it as family, friends, co-workers, whoever, because he'll use anybody.
And sometimes these people are just playing their roles. Simple as that. It's not personal.
No, you know, absolutely not.
You know, it's just what it is. Again, that's why you got to understand. If you don't know, you know, like in what was the movie Lion King, when he told him, you don't know who you are, you know, and basically, you know, that was basically telling him, you're royalty, you're the son of a king, right? And so, you know, it is the reason why I remind myself of who I am on a daily basis, right? And for us, it's not just a matter of who we are, but as somebody said earlier, it's a matter of whose we are.
Right.
That was me. But Ted, how do you remind yourself of who you are daily?
Every day?
Yeah.
I wish I could show, but so you see the name on here that say King Dog, right? On my truck, my personalized license plate say Big King. I just ordered a 24-inch black chess piece. Guess what the chess piece is?
King.
The king piece. You know, so those are just some visual reminders of how I remind myself of who I am, you know. And somebody called me or texted me the other day and they said, are you serious about this king stuff? And I'm like, as serious as a heart attack, you know, because if I don't believe it, nobody else is. I said,
why would you be serious?
I said, I don't believe it in the way that I expect people to be bowing down to me, because this is a modern day king situation.
Exactly.
I said, but I don't tolerate nonsense. And there's a certain standard that I set for me and how I treat others and how others treat me, you know. So I take it very seriously. So we're going to get just a couple of more comments and then we're going to start with Nikki on our final thoughts and go around the horn. Brian said heathens is what they are called. And I want to go back. Okay. And he also said, whenever we were speaking in tongues and I said Ratatouille, he said, isn't that a Disney movie? And then one more comment, because it was hilarious, about the Joel Osteen situation. Brandy says, I wish I wasn't so scary. I would be paying for everything in cash. All sins are the same. I'm so scary though. I wouldn't even be looking for the money. I turn myself in. And she says, I get on my own nerves sometimes.
Randy, that's me. Scary.
And then A-Trap, Brian, he sends me a text while I'm on the podcast, and while he's commenting on the podcast, he sends me a text, a picture of Joel Osteen, and the caption reads, when God calls you to be a prophet, but you thought he said make a profit.
Well,
hey, he not by himself.
Yeah, it's just a different spelling.
That part.
Yeesh.
All right. All right. Yeah, folks, quit texting me during the show.
I'm about to say I got about 4 text messages. I keep on looking.
Get on here and comment.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So final thoughts here on identity crisis, starting with Nicole.
First of all, I just like to thank everybody for always supporting us every week. And you guys don't know how much that means to my siblings and I. And I know that I can speak for them because I know that they appreciate you guys as well. But also with regards to the identity crisis, just always make sure, like somebody said earlier, like Mika said earlier, allow, and I'm speaking from the standpoint as kids, because how it affected me as a child. I would also agree with Mika that let your kids voice their opinion. As long as they're not being disrespectful, they let them talk about their feelings, because when we don't let our kids talk about our feelings, they do bottle those things up, and that can cause a lot of different issues with them mentally. So we got to really make sure that don't think they're being disrespectful, but just, and if you feel like they are, teach them how to speak to you in a correct way. So I just wanted to just make sure that I put that out there, because I know that I'm not the only person that from a family that of divorced parents that was affected the way it affected me for years and years, and probably up until the point before my dad died, when I was able to get I can't get the right word for it, but when I was able to have clarity,
get an understanding,
and get an understanding of why things happened the way they happened,
right on,
and to know that it wasn't my fault.
Yeah,
and I had that opportunity to spend time with him.
Right, and you can't gauge it. You can't think all your kids think the same way about something.
Right.
Kids are individuals, even though they're raised under the same roof. They're individuals. Because me, I didn't give a damn. Can I still get honey buns? Okay, then we good.
And he lying. He lying.
Brian said, "See, Robbie said, come on, Nikki." But yeah, and that's another good point too, is that see, here's the deal, right? We've overcorrected in this situation. Okay, so our parents, you know, and likely their parents' were of that school of thoughts. Kids speak when spoken to. Right. You don't have an opinion in this house. You do what you're told to do. Speak when spoken to. All that stuff, right? Well, future generations came and overcorrected, and that's why kids talk so crazy nowadays. Because them being told you speak when you're spoken to, and kids stay in the kids' place and all that stuff, because that made them feel some type of way, they overcorrected to allow way too much for their kids now, right? Yeah. And so, unfortunately, I don't know that there are a lot of adults who are equipped to show their kids how to respectfully state their opinion, but they need to get it. They need to get an understanding of how to do that very quickly, because you're going to need that in school, in the school system, right? To be able to talk to your fellow classmates and maybe even teachers, or the leadership staff. And you're going to need it when you get to the workforce. You're going to need to know how to respectfully disagree. And if you get an attitude every time somebody disagrees with you, or somebody do something you don't agree with, it is not going to end well.
Yeah.
I assure you. Craig said LMAO, and he said, tell the crew about the dollar store episode. I ain't telling him nothing. All right, Mika, final thoughts.
I don't know why that was funny. I don't even know what happened in the dollar store, but I know it's funny.
I'm not gonna tell it.
Don't tell it. Because I lose it. But again, thank you so much for the support. Y'all, I look forward to Tuesday. So I had a Tuesday. I'm just going to share this with y'all, and I'm going to get out your way. That's what the pastors say. I'm sure this with y'all. I'm going to get out your way. My contact rips in the middle of the day. So I had one eye for the whole day, from 12 to about 3. And then I went to TJ Maxx to exchange something with one eye. And this little boy told his mama he was going to cry until she left out of TJ Maxx, because he don't run her. And he wanted to get out of TJ Maxx. And I looked at that little boy and I was
no, didn't you say allow kids to express themselves?
And I said, you want to stop it. And I put my mask back up and I went
on. Contradicted herself, didn't you?
You don't do that. That's disrespectful. You don't tell your mama you're going to holler until she leave out the store because you're ready to go. Mm-hmm. All right, but I'm back. It was a difficult Tuesday, but I'm back. And I broke a nail, y'all. But
that's the word.
God he's faithful.
Yes, he
is.
And
I want to thank y'all for listening to this show. I want to thank you for your support. And again, identity starts at home.
Mm-hmm.
If you breathe and teach your kids and you let them know what's what, and you allow them to express themselves and be who they are and doing it respectfully, and you're correcting them as they go and grow, it has no other way but to flourish.
Mhm.
So you start that. So, and just remember, you feed into that, you feed into identity, you help them grow. You help them grow and you help them go into the world.
Mm-hmm.
And remember that. And like I think Tech said it, we overcorrected so much that these kids are so different nowadays. But I think we can bring it back.
And just like the pastor, she had 2 or 3 closings.
And I'm gonna let y'all go.
Can you tell our viewers why your hair is ashy today? Though that's what I don't understand.
Oh.
I thought only skin could be ashy. I didn't know hair could be ashy too.
But I done broke a nail today. I know it's a few things. You better go on to the next person.
All right, Lily, your closing final thoughts.
All right. Guys, thank you again for tuning in. We appreciate the comments. Y'all keep the show going, as we always say. Identity is very important. So just to piggyback kind of off of what both my sisters said, just making sure that you are secure in who you are, but also teaching that to your kids, and also making sure that when you're teaching it to your kids, that you're setting the right example, right? So I know a lot of us talk about how this person don't know who they are. They don't know who they are, but sometimes you're raising people who don't know who they are. So be very careful in how you model that. Be careful and be very careful in how you model that to your children. I know that's one of the scariest things, is not only making sure you allow them to develop into their own self, because like Ted said, kids are individuals, right?
Right.
So I know Blake has his own personality.
Yes, God.
I know. And he's very different from Cadence.
Yes,
so I can't parent them the same. I can't parent them the same.
Right. Every kid is different.
I can't come at them with the same type of punishment or anything like
or
that,
the
because
same kind of incentives.
Exactly.
The same kind of rewards.
I know that Cadence is my sensitive child, so I have to kind of navigate her differently. Blake is my ride or die gangsta boo.
Yeah.
So I got to get in his face a little bit more.
Any little joke who eats summer sausage every day for lunch, he a ride or die. Yeah.
Bone thugs and hard.
But not no summer cheese.
Not no summer cheese. But it's really, but for real, just making sure that you are individualizing your parenting, right, with both of your kids. And sometimes that's scary because you have to find that balance, right? So I'm like, I always want them to know who God is, but I also want them to know how to operate in this world, and be able to identify themselves and stand out from the crowd. So all of that goes into really just identifying yourself and making sure you're passing that down to your children and whoever you're around, and always raising them to be an individual. You don't have to be like everybody else. Know your identity and who you are.
And this from Blake Daddy. He said Blake acts like his damn daddy. Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Let's see. Selena says, don't try to give your kids their identity. Cultivate the one that comes out of them.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to add one word to that. Supernatural.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Golden said, H-Rap turned me on to y'all show. I love it. We appreciate you, Golden.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we appreciate you.
Always tuning in.
Thank you, H-Rap.
Yeah. And you turn them on to somebody else. Turn us on to somebody else too, so we can get this in-studio show rolling with an in-studio audience. All right. Tara says resonated immensely. Yeah. State. Resonated immensely. Individuals cannot be taught the same rules, right?
Absolutely.
Right. All right. And I'm gonna one day when I grow up, I'm gonna get like Man Talk Mondays and get somebody to play me some music before I start giving my final thoughts.
That's not link.
But one thing we need to remember about identity is a developmental issue. It is one of the most important conflicts that we face in our entire lives. It is not confined to adolescence, right? It is something that changes throughout the course of our lives. And with that, I say, be who you are, even if who you are makes some people uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Find beauty in the places where everyone else says there is none. We'll see y'all next week where our episode is
Bye,
Soul
y'all.
Ties.
Soul
Soul
ties.
Ties.
Oh,
Soul
yeah, it's gonna
ties.
be good.
I know y'all got some of them soul ties.
Baby, let me go.
See y'all next week.
Are we smiling or what are we doing?
The Queen Bee has arrived.
You know.